support your success as the elite coaches of Beachbody. I am impressed by your mission. And my mission today, my goal, is to help you to further your success and to deepen your mission, not by necessarily giving you more to do, but by expanding your personal capacity to become all of who you are and to use what you already have. It's going to be a fun time together, but you know what? I'm standing here watching you thinking, if I were to truly earn your respect, knowing what I know about you, I should have started way differently. So I want you to imagine something. What if when Michael introduced me just a moment ago, instead of walking out on stage or even playing the video, what if perhaps I was over here, stage right, ready to go, and he said, help me welcome Dan, and I would explode with energy and launch myself onto the stage and then into a round-off. If you don't know, it's like a cartwheel with your feet together. I'd be facing this way, and I'd go backwards from my feet to my hands, and then back here, ready to begin. What do you think? Yeah, that would be good, right? Can you imagine? The energy in this room would be so much different. You'd be much more engaged and more curious about what I would say and do next. And I'm willing to bet that because I described it for you in detail, you can already see it happening, can't you? Indulge me with a show of hands. How many of you can picture me pulling this off? All right. Nearly everyone, which is fantastic, and also means we don't have to do it. So moving on. No, I mean, you have the image. You have the vision. Isn't that enough? Is it? No, absolutely not. No. Success in life, success in business, success in helping others to become more healthy and more fulfilled and to deepen the richness of their experience. It's not about your vision. It's not even about necessarily the mission itself. It's about your ability to take your stage and take action every day. So I'm going to start over, and this will either be a sensational new beginning or a spectacular finish. But either way, it will be memorable. And I can't do it alone, just as none of you can be successful through your own efforts. No, that's why we need to harness the power of all of you in this room right now. And I want you to hold your hands out about this far apart. We're going to clap our hands together one time. Ready? Go. That was amazing. I figured with all the time zones we'd have some issues. Well done. But to feel the rhythm of working with your coach, of working with your network, of working with each other, of working with your family, you have to listen and make adjustments and find it and build it over time. So in a moment, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it going louder and stronger and faster. And we'll see what happens. But one thing's for sure, for me right now, there's no turning back, is there?
No.
Not if I want your respect.
Right.
Not if I want your commitment. Not if I want to earn the right to contribute to your incredible life. And that's the message. If you're serious about transformation, personally or professionally, you got to voice the intention, make the promise, speak it into reality, and when you do, you'll find a different level of commitment. You'll find resources around you. You'll see them so much differently because now they're congruent with that amazing purpose. And yes, we all need to continue to stretch. I know I do. But ultimately, it's about following through. You ready? Hands out. Deep breath. Mainly that's for me, but thank you. I appreciate it. And let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Beachbody, if you will, help me welcome Dan Thurmon. Feels different. And I know now I have a different level of connection with all of you. But am I suggesting you return home and to your family and to your, your recruiting efforts and your next meetings and you start tumbling down the hallways? Don't do this necessarily. I know some of you can. But what I am asking you is, what are you going to be willing to do differently? as a result of this experience today. You earned the right to be here. But being here brings itself a level of responsibility to implement that which you will learn and to stretch to the next level. In 26 years in professional development, working with great organizations and leaders all around the world, I've learned that there are basically 3 different reasons why people never get to where they desire to be, where they have a vision and maybe even make a decision, right? Or a commitment, but they never reach that level of what they perceive to be that success. 3 things, right? You can imagine these as overlapping circles. The first is over here, and it is your willingness, that big W, right? It's like, are you going to exert your will to do what it takes, to do whatever it takes to be successful? We heard some great examples this morning about creativity and implementation and launches and how we can really bring our efforts and the design of that intention to make it happen. But willingness is tested every day because very often what you thought it would take is different than what it actually takes, right? And so you have to keep answering the question. If that is, though, then you move over to the second circle, and then that is your abilities, your skills. Perhaps this means a new knowledge base. What don't you yet understand? What could you learn from one of your peers or mentors? What is it that you must master in terms of a new skill set? And if you could do that, if you could learn one skill this year or next that would dramatically change everything, what would that be? And are you on that path? So the third circle is the one I like to focus on, and I already mentioned it briefly, and that is your capacity, your personal bandwidth. Your capacity means how much can you take on? And I know that there is so much going on in your lives, both personally and professionally. Some people view their capacity as fixed and finite. I only have so much time, so much energy, so much money, which is certainly true. And yet we all know others who have this enormous capacity to learn quickly, to be comfortable in the midst of uncertainty, to leverage their past or abilities into new opportunities with amazing success. And I believe you can grow that over time, and so that a year from now, you can be a faster learner. You can be someone who's more comfortable leading the change instead of responding to it. I knew a gentleman like this, or learned of him, when I was 17 years old. His name is John Goddard. John Goddard is from Southern California. He was 15 when he decided to set some intentions or goals for his life. He wrote a life list. Those are the 3 words that he wrote at the top of a piece of paper, a legal pad. And he started writing ideas as they came into his head. Now, John was an avid reader, and he loved especially National Geographic magazine. So his number 1 goal was to explore the Nile River from beginning to end in a kayak. The world's longest river. Nobody had ever done this. He thought it would be cool, so he just wrote it down. And then the same with the Congo and the Rio Coco in Nicaragua and several other rivers as well. He wanted to climb mountains, like the Matterhorn, Mount Rainier, Mount Fuji, Mount Vesuvius, and several others. Learn to fly a plane, land and take off from an aircraft carrier as the pilot. Learn to speak French, Spanish, and Arabic. Type 50 words a minute. Become an Eagle Scout. Learn to fence, learn jujitsu. Visit a long list of places he wanted to see in the world, like the Great Wall of China, the Panama and Suez Canals, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. He wanted to teach a college course, learn medicine, and teach medicine across Africa to the tribal villages that needed it. He also wished to read the Bible from cover to cover, and the works of Shakespeare, Aristotle, Dickens, Poe, Thoreau, and all these others. Okay, I'm almost done. I'll give you a few more. Light a match with a .22 rifle. Milk a poisonous snake. Marry and have children. Live to see the 21st century. Now, from that perspective, I want you to ask yourself, what are my goals? Right? Can you imagine being so audacious to dream so huge about what the possibilities for your life and experience? And if so, what would you write down? What would you put on that list? and even achieving a small percentage of a grand ambition, would that not entitle you to say, you lived an amazing life? I think so. Realistically, how do you think that John did of the list that I read you? Give me a percentage of how much you think maybe he actually accomplished. What percent? 40, 20, 80. The truth is he got his goals slightly out of order. First he married and had children. Then he lost interest in everything else. No, that's not true. No, every single thing that I mentioned to you was checked off his list. Incredible capacity. And I thought, well, he must have been independently wealthy, right? Nope. He had to figure it out every step of the way. He learned new skills or took jobs that would take him to places, developed friendships or sponsors to go on these journeys. He joined the Air Force to learn to fly and had a nice career with the Air Force in his 20s. You know, and I thought, if it's possible that one person could do so much with one life, maybe I'm aiming a little bit low. So I just present that to you to maybe expand your thinking, because you have been told that there's an ultimate goal, and maybe it is success, or maybe balance, right? And you've been told that if you work hard enough, or smart enough, or long enough, you're eventually going to get to this future moment where everything's going to simplify, even out, and make more sense, and you have finally attained balance. And I'm here to tell you today that this concept of achieving perfect balance is intriguing and desirable and also completely unrealistic. You will never achieve perfect balance because life's not a hypothetical future. Life is an undeniable present. And I mean that both ways. It's happening now, in the moment. And the moment is all you ever get. It's your only chance to listen or learn or engage or fulfill someone's expectations or to further the possibilities in their life or to grow your business. And so the first commitment to success is to master the moment. It's in the moments that you will decide and commit. And just like success, right? Balance isn't what you eventually get. Balance is what you do. I came in here, I saw this lectern on stage, and I thought, this is like what we're talking about. It looks so solid and strong, but it's really not. You know, it has some, if you hit it with force, it'll topple over. This is like our foundations. Because you know events can change in an instant because of the economy or because of regulations or because of maybe your own personal circumstances in your life and what's happening. The question is not how do you remove the uncertainty. It's how do you position yourself on top of it. Pay attention. I'm not sure how long this will last.
Whoa.
You should say them up here. All right. So, thank you. But please notice, I wasn't balanced. Did you see that? I was balancing. I was constantly making these tiny adjustments. I was working extremely hard, and after all that work or all that effort, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still in the same place. I'm just a lot more exhausted. Right? This is how most people deal with uncertainty. When things are shifting and changing, they say, how do I protect myself and stay safe? Keep doing what I'm doing or knowing what I'm doing, or hey, I've already been recognized at this elite level of success, so I must just be doing this right. But you also are aware that in order to transcend your current level of ability, you have to lean in, you have to move in a direction. Balance is not static, it is dynamic. It's constantly moving and shifting and changing. So when you can identify the new opportunity and you can lean in and go off balance on purpose, your choice, and connected to that sense of purpose and mission and meaning, that's when you become the leader. You become the coach that drives others to see and fulfill the vision that we all together are pursuing. This may surprise you, but when I was 11 years old, I was a hyperactive kid. That's true. I still am. I'm 51 now, by the way, in case you're wondering. People sometimes ask me, thanks. I'm old. People sometimes ask me, Dan, what are you going to do when you're like 60? You're not going to be doing tumbling runs and handstand push-ups. And I say, yeah, it's just going to be more impressive, like every year. And I believe that, and I'm working toward that, like you. I believe that you can age extremely well. Yeah? Well, when I was 11, I needed a channel for that energy, and I found it in the strangest place. It was the King Richard's Renaissance Festival. Who here has ever been to a Renaissance fair? Oh yes, they're amazing. If not, it's like 16th century England recreated in a permanent village with the king and the queen and the knights jousting on horseback and amazing artists like my mother. My mom is an amazing woman. Talk about incredible personal capacity. She could do it all, and if she didn't know how, she would figure it out. She taught herself how to paint because we didn't have any artwork or money to buy artwork for our small home in the southwest side of inner city Chicago. A little Polish neighborhood. Houses so close together on a 28-foot lot, you could touch them both just like this. Our house and Grandma's house. Grandma ran a business out of her basement, which was to make draperies. And my mother ran an art studio. Discovering she had this talent, she began to just prolifically produce artwork and show it, sell it at different fairs and festivals. She ran a mail order business out of her basement, doing pet portraits across the country for people who would send her their photos, and she taught classes. And so what Mom taught me is it doesn't matter what you do in life. Any job, any profession can be a work of art, can be a purposeful expression of who you are and what you value. And as I'm learning about Beachbody and all of you, I think that is certainly true for all of you, because there's many different ways you can find success in this business and leave your imprint. That's what I'm going to help you with, I think, a little bit later in this presentation. But back to our story. So I was 11. After helping Mom get set up at her booth, I had nothing to do but explore this magical world at the Renaissance Fair. I saw a juggler, and I watched his show. He was amazing and funny, and I saw it 6 times in a row, moving closer after every performance, until the end of the day when I was still there, and he noticed. And he said, "Kid, you've been here like all day. Do you have parents?" That was his first question. And then he said, "Or can I help you?" And he got an idea and went back to his props, and he said, "Do you want to learn?" And right then, I found a channel for my energy and a glimpse of a potential purpose. Now, I know that sounds bizarre, but here's why. When he asked me, "Do you want to learn?" that's not what I heard. What I heard was, "You can do this." See the difference? I wasn't fishing for an invitation. I was admiring him, his ability, his mastery, and I was separating myself from it in the audience. He bridged that gap by saying, no, kid, this is within you. And I'll bet you can clearly retrace the journey of your life, your education, and your experiences, and how you got in this business. And you can name the people who reached into your life and into your heart and said, "You can do this. I believe in you. You have something special." Because we're all so close to our strength, we devalue it. We don't think that it's all that great or even unique. And yet, you are truly incredible. You have this potential within you. And this is also the power that you wield when you validate others for who they are. And you say, "You know what? You have this amazing ability." Don't assume that they know how great they are. Remind them. I know when I did hear that, I wanted to prove that my mentor was right. So I put in the time and energy, and I got to the place where I could do it. I could keep it going with the 3 balls. And almost immediately, a new question flew into my head. What was it? How do you do 4, right? I wanted to know, and I thought I just basically could just add it in. So I tried 4 the same way I did 3. And did that work? No, they hit each other and hit the ground. It was a mess. It was frustrating, and I went back to my mentor eventually, and I said, I don't get it. And he showed me, he watched me, and he stopped me, and he said, Dan, stop, and just listen. When you add the fourth ball, you need to learn a new pattern. A new pattern. That's the term that jugglers use to refer to the relationship between all of the objectives as they support each other. And it's also what we do in life. We form patterns of how we think, how we act, how we interact with others. We form methods that work, and again, we want to protect them. But if you want to transcend your current ability or your happiness or any aspect of this reality, you must first become willing to transcend the pattern that brought you here, because it may also be keeping you here. Most people don't want to do that. They want to stay with the success that they know and where they're comfortable. But here's the way I think about it. If you limit yourself to what's comfortable, you deny yourself what's possible. If you limit yourself to what's comfortable, you're denying you that which you truly want, which is congruent with your purpose. So I think we need to be aware of what resonates and yet scares us, so that we can lean in and go off balance on purpose. Here's what he showed me. He said the 3 balls cross your body to opposite hands. Odd numbers will cross. Even numbers, you hold it longer, it circles back to the same side. It actually looks like they're crossing a little bit, but they really don't. Unless you're doing variations or fancier tricks. But the basic patterns don't cross, they actually stay on the same side. And when he showed me that, just like you, I went, oh. Yeah, like that's good information, right? And there was this moment in time where I had no clue, and then suddenly I knew the answer. As if I'd been to the 4-ball breakout session. And then I went home and I tried it again, and this time it still didn't work. Because I hadn't what? I hadn't practiced enough, yes. But the real key is I hadn't dropped enough. And I hadn't picked up the drops to confirm I was serious, and then continued to drop and pick up and drop and pick up, and then eventually get more specific about what I was trying to do. I've taught over the years thousands of people how to do this, and trust me, the only thing that separates those who can from those who can't is that those who can picked up more drops. Maybe dozens more, maybe just one, because you never know how close you are to that breakthrough moment. So it's about reframing that concept of failure or dropping or struggling, and understand that the struggling is not optional, right? But you get to decide what you want to struggle to learn or become. You get to choose how you will engage with that struggle as a process of learning and clarifying and stretching and growing, right? And so as I continued to do that, as I stayed with the struggle, what I began to notice is that as I was working on 4, my 3-ball juggling was getting really, really good, right? The truth is I never got the hang of 4 until I tried what? 5. If you think what you're doing now is difficult, it's probably time to try something harder. And when you do this level, it's going to seem a lot easier. That's how we stretch, right? You don't master one level completely and decide to move on. You stretch into the uncertainty, and then the uncertainty stretches you. So 5 balls goes back to a crossing pattern, and what we're doing at this moment is building this visual metaphor for performance, and then we're going to layer on some additional content in just a minute. 5 goes back to crossing, but there's 3 in the air at all times. It looks like this. But there are some principles and keys that will enable you to manage the complexity of more in your life with greater control. Would you like to know them? Yes. Okay. 2 things. The first is obvious but hard to do. The second one may surprise you. First, when you add more, you have to keep looking up. Keep looking up. And I know that sounds like so motivational. And I'm sorry. It's like, keep looking up, everybody. Like it's about attitude. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's about execution. Juggling is not about making great catches. It's about making perfect throws. Because if your throws are consistent and accurate, the catches just sort of happen, right? And the same is true when you're building your business or your legacy of life. It's, are you operating congruent to your values, toward your processes, toward your intentions and your goals, and are you executing up there, making adjustments as you go, focusing on execution. Let the results kind of take care of themselves. The moment I look down to confirm I'm making great catches, it's like, yeah, how are they coming in today? You can't see what's coming next, and you can't see the pattern. You can't understand the dynamics, the relationship between everything at work at once. Does that make sense? This also means when everyone around you is focusing on the drops or the challenges and saying, there's a problem, oh, and there's another one, and that'll never work, that when you can change their perspective and say, I get that, I see why that's important, but remind me, what is it we're trying to accomplish? Why does it matter? And get reoriented to purpose. There's just going to be new answers that were not there before. That's what I mean when I say keep looking up. It's your leadership skill to redirect the focus in the midst of a challenge. Now, second thing I said might surprise you is when you add more to what you're doing, you have to slow down. Slow down. All right, and I know that's counterintuitive because life's moving so fast. But what I'm saying is if that's your only move is to accelerate when life does, is to just speed up and race it. Life has no problem speeding up as well. You're going to lose that race. And you're going to wear out and tired. The only way to find control and clarity about what's right in the midst of that accelerated pace is to understand you don't multitask. You don't. You perform what's called the quick switch, which is a term scientists coined to talk about how our brains engage multiple thoughts and challenges. One area of your mind will actually stimulate to process a thought or solve a problem. Something else catches your attention, and they've watched how the first area will turn off before the second one activates. You can't think two thoughts at once. You can learn something really well and run it as sort of an automatic program in the background, but when it comes to your contributions, problem solving, listening, decision making, it's one thing at a time. So the question is, are you placing your focus where you want it to be, or are you allowing your focus to be pulled from you? So instead of having it all up in the air at once, I can actually slow it down, one thing at a time. You can see it's not all that fast, and you can probably also see the pattern. Can you see it? A few of you? Some of you? Anybody?
Yes.
Hold on, wait. I want to make sure all of you get this. So at this point, we're going to implement some technology and help make this idea more abundantly clear. I think we're almost ready. Lights, please. Oh yeah. And now, you see the pattern.
Oh, yeah.
Some say it looks like the wings of a butterfly. I prefer to see an infinity sign. Watch one of the balls as it arcs back and forth, crossing through the middle, that infinite loop. You got it? Now the creation of the pattern enables me to manage the complexity. And yet patterns will change throughout your life and your business. The key to remember is that it is all in your hands. Lights, please. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the applause, I do, but I hope by now you recognize that's not why I do it, right? And I know it's confusing. I can see some of you looking up at me right now. You're saying, what are we even watching? Is this a show? Is this a speech? Like, what is Dan doing? And I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm giving you everything I've got. And like all that I am, because we get one chance together where I can contribute, hopefully, something of value, a shared experience that will affect the trajectory of your life and your ability to execute your incredible mission. So, and I also know that in this room right now, despite your success, there are people who are struggling. There are people who are hurting physically or emotionally. There are people who need the encouragement, to continue and to persevere because you are amazing. And I wrote that book, Off Balance on Purpose, to liberate you from this idea of trying to, it's incumbent upon you. You have to attain the perfect balance. But really also from the guilt that goes with not having it. Because you are amazing. You are so dedicated to helping others to grow. You're dedicated to building your business. and also to your family, and you're putting out so much energy, and maybe on top of all of that is this residual guilt, because you can't be all things to all people all the time. And you need to let that go, because it's preventing you from being in the moments that you occupy to contribute fully. So I wanted you to understand that pattern so that we can talk now about your life pattern. And this model, if we can roll the video, will serve you, because I see it as so integral to the model and to the mission that you live every day. So think about this relative to your life, but also to the life of those you seek to help. What are the 5 spheres for everyone? Well, they are your work, your relationships, your health, your spirit, and your interests or your passions. So first there's your work sphere. And we're off balance in that direction this week. We're talking about how we can continue to grow and to serve and to create greater value. And we're trying to pick those throws to higher and higher targets of success. And maybe, a typical conversation about balance is, how do you reconcile all of that energy and effort with your relationships, with the people you care about and the people you care for? And most balance books will tell you, compartmentalize your life, protect your time in each area so that they don't interfere with each other, which, can we all agree, is ridiculous. There's not enough time to do it. It doesn't apportion evenly. And they're always intersecting in your thinking and your choices. Plus, there's more spheres. Of course, your health, which you totally get more than any audience I know. That health-related goals will fuel everything, because that's where you get the energy to be there for your work and for your loved ones. And they drive the clarity of your thoughts and contributions. Mental health, as well as physical health, is essential. So getting nutrition and exercise, and how about spiritual growth? Well, spiritual development means different things to all of us, but fueling your spirit is about recognizing it's bigger than you are, the mission. It's about volunteering in your community, looking for others, asking those questions, practicing or pursuing your own beliefs, because you can't give away what you don't have. So the spiritual renewal is really, really important over time. Personal interests, passions. Maybe like me, you discovered something about yourself at a young age, around 11 to 13, in that magic window where you were looking for identity or confidence. And you found a skill or an activity or an area of study that resonated. And over time, we then relegate those lower on our lists, thinking, that was then, or maybe I'll get back to that later. What if we can integrate all of who you are, the totality of you, into this concept of a pattern, that infinite loop, back and forth? And see, these don't have to be mutually exclusive. They must be mutually supportive if you are to show up fully present. And if you stop your life at any one moment, it doesn't look balanced. There's something in your hand you're dealing with now, and others that are totally out of your reach at any given moment. You have to understand, just because something's out of your reach doesn't mean it's out of your life. It's still connected to you, right? Be present, because how you deal with what's now changes everything, because they are connected. If I were to draw a line, this is called a lifeline, between these two spheres, work and relationships. This line implies the question, how are they connected? We work to take care of our loved ones, to help earn those dollars that are so vital. We go back to our families, we get renewed and re-energized, and we bring that back into our business. We connect our spouse to our passion and our mission professionally. And yet there are times when it's going to be stretched and tested. So by strengthening that lifeline and sharing that purpose and mission with your loved ones, you can withstand those moments to a much greater degree. This is how, for 26 years in my marriage and with our 2 kids, 20 and 17 years old, respectively, they were actually connected to my business all the while, even though I was gone many, many days. I talked about my clients. I told them about your missions. I talked to them about why it matters. I use them in my businesses even today, right? So we can all strengthen that lifeline and others as well. How do you connect those you love more deeply to the work that you do? This is your lifeline, work and health. Most professional pursuits don't have this. This is a challenge. For you guys, this is totally congruent because you are the model of success, and your results can translate to your revenue. It's extraordinary. Are we practicing also our spiritual beliefs and our personal interests in the context of building your mission? Are you in relationships that support your desire to be healthy? Certainly hope so, and to grow spiritually. So it all is connected. In total, there are 10 lifelines, relationships, and interests. Are we learning about the interests of our loved ones? And when we think about our life this way, the infrastructure building from the inside out, rather than trying to compartmentalize your life or run around trying to put energy in here and there, spinning plates, hoping it won't crash. No, it's not that at all. It's about stepping back and looking up and seeing how it fits together and making better choices so that it's more congruent. Because this is how you get your capacity up to that next level. Does this make sense? Yes, this is how you show up with all of you to any challenge. And I know that infinite loop is also extremely intentional. And here's why. I remember in 8th grade, my teachers called my parents in for one of these conversations. And I was getting in trouble and they said, he's doing okay, he's making good grades, he's just not reaching his full what?
Potential.
Full potential, right? And I remember vividly thinking, well, that's ridiculous. Like, why would I reach my full potential in 8th grade, right? I mean, yeah. But the truth is, you never do. You never reach your full potential because it is infinite. It is limitless. Never in human history has somebody tried to learn a new idea and run out of disk space. I'm sorry, you have to forget some other things first. No, the more you know, the more you can know. We run out of willingness or interest or curiosity, but the greater your capacity for education. The more you create, the more you can create. The more you love, the more you can love. And so that concept of infinite growth can and should thrill you because it means no matter what has happened in your past, you still have today in this moment that new infinite potential in front of you to grow and learn and become. And I know this breaks down maybe when you're thinking about some heavy-duty, serious, weighty challenge that you're dealing with. I brought one here just to represent. Hold on. Excuse me. Pardon me. All right, here's the question. What's your bowling ball? What is the biggest weight in your world today? And how are you going to handle it? It might be one of those 5 spheres or a specific challenge you're dealing with, or something coming up and you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be ready for that. How are you going to handle it? Maybe dig down deep, find strength inside of you that you didn't know you had. But maybe it's not always about working harder. It could be about working smarter, getting creative. In other words, using your head. Or at least making it look that way, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. You got that? Yeah. I'm okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you all right? It's not a real bowling ball. I'm okay.
Oh my God.
You can also be okay. Even though it's not a real bowling ball, though, it still makes a very real point. And I can tell watching me, you were nowhere near ready for the point. So all together, let's take a deep breath, shall we? And let it out. Oh, that's so good. A moment ago, I asked you a very simple question. I said, what's your bowling ball? Isn't it amazing how quickly you knew the answer? Because we all have them. These big challenges or weights or expectations of what will be so hard and challenging. May I propose that whatever it was you were thinking about may not be all that. Because from this moment, it is amplified by your fear and your doubt and your uncertainty. You have been preparing for your future all your life. What changes is the way you step into that moment, leveraging your past in order to become more present and create a new future. I want to prove this to you. I want to really demonstrate a breakthrough on stage today. For that, I'm going to need a partner from this audience, a volunteer. But before we get there, let me describe this person, and we'll just see who it may be. Something tells me I think it's going to be a woman in the room. And a woman with a great attitude and a willingness to try something new. Not someone who knows how to juggle, yet someone who just basically feels like if you step in a new moment, you can trust me enough that I'll take you through a process where we'll stretch a little bit, and we'll also be able to teach and inspire the rest of the room. If that may be you, take a deep breath and just raise your hand. And I'll look for the first hand, which is right here in the third row. Ma'am, would you join me on stage right now? Are you putting on a shoe?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting ready. She's getting saddled up. I'm going to put these back over here. Fantastic. You ready yet? All right, let's give her some applause. She steps up here on stage. You were quick with that hand. That was amazing. You got the hand up before the shoe. That was amazing. What is your name?
Ashley.
Ashley, I'm Dan. Nice to meet you. Now, have we met before?
No, sir.
Do you know what's coming? Are you?
No, but my heart is beating.
Your heart is beating. So it's a real moment for you.
Yes.
Do you know how to juggle?
No.
Do you think it's possible you could learn on stage with me in just a few minutes?
Absolutely.
She says yes. A lot of times people say no. Do you think I let them sit down? No. I'm not trying to eliminate her. I'm just trying to understand her beliefs, because you can't learn something or accomplish something while telling yourself it's impossible. You get that? So when you're coaching someone else, you have to start with their belief and then help stretch their belief into a space where they now can go with you into a new opportunity. So I would say, Ashley, I'm going to work with you where you're already comfortable. I'll do at least half the work on myself, so we're totally in this together.
I'm left-handed.
Oh, you are? That's good information. You're also past that, so I don't have to go there. All right, let's see. I brought with me some objects which are so great for learning. These are what we call in the business, they're called juggling scarves. They fall really slowly. I can take my time. It's like that one goes there, that one goes there. You can even miss it a couple times, come back later, still catch the scarf. It's like learning in slow motion, which is why we're not using scarves. When is the last time you got to learn something important in slow motion? Life doesn't work that way, so to make it more like your real life, can you relate, my friends? Yeah. Ashley, come here, check these out. These are real, and they are sharp. There's no way I would ask you to juggle these this early in our relationship. Yeah, you can see the grinder marks, the edges. But what I'm doing is intentional, because once I show her the extreme of what may one day be possible, she will be much more open to the idea that today we're just going to use these, right? It's kind of like here, you can hold one for me, and you said you're left-handed, right? Perfect. It's like the John Goddard story. Once I showed you his goals, maybe yours now seem more achievable. These fall in real time, actually. I want to build on your strength, your left hand, as we do when we're building partnerships. I'll be the right hand. You can put this hand by your side or behind your back, so that we're totally in this together, but we can't be successful without one another. I want you to look up. There's an imaginary spot right there. Look for it, and then make the catch. No worries. I got it. And catch. Perfect. Catch it with your eyes, and then fall in your hands. You did great, too. Most people look down at their hand and confirm it's still there. She didn't even do that. Awesome. But now to throw it to me, you're going to make a little scooping motion. Go up in the air and across to me on this side. Go. Perfect. Throw, and then back to you. And then, yeah, just look at it. You don't want to look at the lights. You want to look a little bit above them. Good. Back and forth. And notice how we're finding a rhythm. That was perfect. Just like that. Back and forth. We're relaxing. We're learning to trust each other. All right. And also notice this. One ball by itself is not that entertaining, is it? Except for us. For us, this is so cool. But actually, the accuracy of the first throw is so important when we add more to it. And this is a mistake I see a lot of people make in their relationships or coaching situations or with partnerships and teams, is they say, let's race ahead to the ultimate objective too quickly instead of building a solid foundation. Ultimately, I want to get to a point where you and I can juggle three together on stage. How will we know we've been successful? Give me a number. How many catches do you think we should make? 5. That's a great answer. Most people say 3. No? But what if we did just one more catch? That would be 2 full rotations of the pattern to 6. Would you go to 6? Okay. Awesome. Just 3 for you, 3 for me. Now, did you see how I just upsold her on her own goal? Did you see how I did it? I asked her what her thinking was. I validated her opinion, and then I gave her some explanation of going a little further. We have to start with their truth, with her truth. Now, we're leaving out, we have a goal, that's awesome, but we're leaving out one other element, which is super important, which is your time or urgency, because your challenges have deadlines, right? So we're going to give you that same sense of urgency by giving you a time limit, which is the length of this piece of music, which will help us to feel the rhythm. Hit it, please. And come a little closer. All right, very good. Actually, let's go over here. Kind of Beachbody style. That's good, perfect. There you go. Now, look up. I throw to you. Just like before, you throw to me. Back to you, and then back to me. Nice. Back to you, and then back to me. One more time. Hold this one and stop. Give her some love, everybody. That was amazing. Now, the next step, Ashley, is you start first. I throw underneath yours. We're going to sequence our throws together. Ready, go. You throw, and I throw. I catch, and you catch. Perfect. Let's do it again. Throw, throw, catch, catch. Make sure you get it all the way across so I can get underneath it. Well, that was it. Perfect. Go one more time, and now stop. This time, I'll start first. You throw underneath mine. 1 and 2, catch and catch. That was great. Most people don't get that the first time. Here's why. Because if I start, she's now throwing while catching. It becomes the quick switch that we talked about earlier. Don't think about that. That'll confuse you. Instead, you focus on your rhythm. Go start first, and now stop. Now I'll start first. Throw, throw. Now you start first, and now I'll start first. Nice. And if you're practicing in your mind, start with the hand that has 2. Otherwise, they're all on her side, right? But I start, then you throw. No, I'm going to start first, just like I did.
Okay.
And then you throw the next one. And now we're just going to start over. There's a third one in my hand. What should I do with it? Throw it. This is a great rule for life. If the ball's in your hand, throw it. Right? Take action when you have the opportunity. When you meet someone and you want to talk about this amazing opportunity you have, do it. When you see the next chance to forward your goal and mission, take it. When you can encourage someone, please do. Just keep letting go and keep throwing. I'll start first. Here we go. 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. See, it just starts over. This time we're going to keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Oh, give me that hand back. She's trying to think about the end. We're not going to go to the end. We're just going to keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to pick that one up? Nice. I'll start again. And ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I dropped that time. That was getting good. They're going to go so crazy. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Amazing! Look, you even have music left over. That was incredible. We'll fade out the music. Ashley, you did so great. On stage, under the bright lights, in front of the scrutiny of your peers, you rose to the moment. You feel good? You should. But in order for her to make this her own skill, what does she need to do next? Not knives. Who said knives? Sick. No, she does need to go solo and practice, which I'm not going to ask you to do on stage right now. However, as your coach, as your partner, I want to prepare you with the right tools. Here's your own set of juggling balls. Here's a copy of Off Balance on Purpose to help you in your life and your business. You're amazing. Let's hear it for everybody. I love it. You did so great. And I love when you bring someone on stage because you effectively invite the whole audience up on stage. Did you feel that way? Because Ashley, they were all empathizing with your situation.
Yes.
Many were thinking, oh, thank God it's not me. And some were wishing you raised your hands just a bit quicker, or I saw you first. But your risk became our reward because we got to see you take on a real challenge in the moment. Nothing fake about it. Under these bright, bright lights and in front of, 500 of your closest friends, and you did it. But I bet you also identified with me as the mentor, as the teacher, as the coach, trying to work with someone who I just met. I hired her on her attitude and her willingness, but I had to stretch her abilities and expand her capacity and take her through this moment by encouraging her and helping her understand we didn't have to race. It wasn't about going so quickly. It was about allowing those moments to expand. The point is you do both parts. You're always going to be the coach, the teacher, and the student. And when you do teach what you've learned, you actually learn it much more deeply. You give language to that which you already understand. But don't diminish what you already have learned. I see over and over again people who say, this is my struggle. This is my limitation, right? And when you say that, you essentially reinforce it, and you make it so much more difficult to move on. Instead, life's too short to keep starting over with something so important and meaningful. We have to plant the flag that says, I've got this. I've learned this lesson. This is my new base camp. This is the point with which I'm going to start and then reach for something even greater so I can continue that journey of my evolution, right? And that's what you do. If you go down that road, you will get to a point where you can't take on even the daunting challenges. If you limit yourself to what's comfortable, you deny yourself what's possible. In other words, I've just upped my commitment. Up yours. Up your commitment. Sorry. And when you do, you have to get very specific about the goal. It's not just to catch, make a catch. It's more specifically catch the handle.
Yeah.
Right? It's important. And they're all different. And they're all real. Right? But the moment one of them is out of my hand, it's also out of my what? It's out of my control. I'm out of my reach. I gotta let it go so I can handle the next one with equal attention and commitment. If you feel overwhelmed, it's probably from the inability to disengage from what is already out of your hand. You must let go in order to get a grip. And notice, even with these, it's not some incredible, unbelievable show-stopping moment. What it is it's a meditation of concentration, of excellence, of performance, of focus. I'm looking up, I'm slowing down, I'm handling each one uniquely. And then those moments give me opportunities to expand into new variations or opportunities. All right. Tell you what, you're on a roll, so I'm going to give you one more good one. This is probably the best way that I know to teach this concept of balance, right? So we're gonna use this, and then I'm going to give you something of value, and then we're gonna close with a little quick story. So this is something I learned when I was about 12 years old. It's the best way to really understand balance. It's also a good way for me to come say hello to the folks in the back in the cheaper seats. So here we go. I'm gonna just dip around if you don't mind. Coming to the back of the room. How are you guys doing back here? All right. Awesome. High five. Here we go. Oh, nice. Yes, we got one over here. I'll just wave to those of you back there. The first time I tried to ride a 6-foot unicycle, I learned a lot about balance super quickly. First of all, I tried it like this, thinking I'd be closer to the ground, just to be careful. And if I was looking at the ground, where do you think I went? Quickly to the ground, yeah. The only way to find a sense of control in an off-balance, ever-shifting environment is to elevate your vision, as you know, to look up and out further than others are willing to look. And then you tell me, what's my first move? What do I do? Yes, even before I started pedaling, you got it. You lean forward. You start falling toward your face. And then you chase your body with the unicycle, so hopefully you don't get to your face. It's scary, but unless you feel that excitement of leaning in, you're not going forward. If I'm apprehensive, I may start going backward or backsliding. Or maybe I'm just gonna stay right here, where I already am, where my success has taken me. This is called idling. It's the illusion of progress or productivity. It's like, hey everybody, check me out. I am still right here. Now, what we know from our commitment to fitness and from our commitment to business and our commitment to life is you have to keep showing up, and if you have to keep leaning in as you take the next stage of your development. You never know who's in your audience. And this is the greatest job in the world because I get to use all of my spheres, my personal passions and interests, my physical health, my personal connections, my relationships, and the depth of those I've learned from along the way, and the fullness of my spirit, which I continually try to renew and expand, and you help me with that, so thank you so much. But you know what? I want to help you even beyond today. And so I do have a gift. About 2 years ago, I started creating a weekly coaching video. And I know you have a lot of great resources to use, but this could be one more thing that you could do. It's 2.5 minutes in length, happens every week, really well produced. And get this, I do these videos with my son, Eddie, who's in Boston. He's attending the Berklee College of Music. He's a really talented musician, but also a great video editor. So Lifelines connection. I work to my son, bringing him on the road with me every single week, sharing these adventures, collaborating on something creatively, and where I'm pouring out this heartfelt wisdom or encouragement or steps for success to you, I'm also speaking to my boy, right? And I know he's watching because I'm paying him. It's awesome. So if we could bring up that slide real quick. So this is how you would avail yourself of this opportunity. Take out your phone and you could take a picture now, or you could just do it. If the ball's in your hand, throw it. Text that word Lifelines, no space. That's important, no space, to that number 44222, and you'll get a reply, and you can try it out. If you don't like it, unsubscribe, but trust me, you will. The next one's about imposter syndrome. After that, I did one about excuses and how they limit us and how we can get past them. All right, so I've got 2 in the can for the next 2 Tuesdays. Look forward to that. If you reply to those emails, then you can also ask questions. And I very often will take requests from the audience. Say, would you please do a video about this? This is something I'm struggling with. Those are my favorite. So let's stay connected. All right. You never know who's in your audience. 16 years ago in Nashville, my cell phone rang, and a voice on the other end that I'd never heard before said, "Hello, Dan. This is John Goddard." The lifeless guy called me. Yes, I know. Here's why. 6 months earlier, I did a speech and I talked about John and his story. And I talked about how his list, when I heard about it at 17, changed the trajectory of my life. Because I got more ambitious, I became more clear and confident about what I wanted. I began to look for other opportunities for professional development. At that time, my family had moved from Chicago to Atlanta, but I'd built my own entertainment business as a solo performer. My parents had said to me, "Dan, you're making good money. I'll bet if you pay for your own education, it'll be that much more meaningful." And I bought it. I bought that idea. And so I was growing my business while getting a business degree at the University of Georgia. I built this company from a one-man show to an entertainment company where I was producing other acts and festivals and things like this. And I was learning about these other elements of success by listening to great speakers and authors. Well, I talked about that and I told John's story. And after that speech, this young lady had approached me. Her name was Renee. She said, "Thank you for talking about John Goddard. That's my uncle." You never know who's in your audience. I told Renee that one of my goals was to meet her Uncle John. She wrote him a letter, and he was responding as he called. "How do you use my story, Dan?" I said, "Well, Dr. Goddard, I talk about goal setting." He said, I think the problem is most people don't set their goals high enough. They don't feel the excitement of pursuing something that's truly meaningful and compelling. They also don't write them down. They keep them in their head as dreams instead of making them real, which is where you activate all of the forces around you to deliver the opportunities." And he asked me, "How many goals do you think I've achieved, Dan?" I knew the answer. I knew that of that original list, he had achieved 112. But I wanted to flatter him, and so I aimed a little lower. And I said, "Dr. Goddard, if you could have achieved 100 of those goals, that would be amazing." And what he said next blew my mind. He said, "Dan, I wrote that list when I was 15. Surely you don't think that's all I've aspired to do." And then he told me his list was now over 600 goals. Of those, he had achieved 520. And he wasn't bragging. He was excited about his life. He was asking me, "What are you working on?" I've never met a man or a woman I could not learn from. We became quite close, John and I. He even called me his kindred spirit. I'd see him every time I was in Southern California. He came to Atlanta to visit with my family. We'd go hiking up in the mountains. And on John's 80th birthday and the anniversary of his #1 goal, we went back to Egypt on the Nile River to celebrate. We weren't in a kayak, we were in a cruise ship. But it was still cool. And 6 years ago, when John passed away, his wife Carol called me and she said, Dan, John wanted you to officiate his celebration of life ceremony. Would you please do it? Right? And I say that to you to ask this. Can you imagine? From the perspective of the 17-year-old kid who just learned about this man's incredible life and example, that would never have been possible to conceive or even contemplate. It could certainly never have been an intention or a goal. And so I say that to remind you that in the pursuit of excellence, as you make decisions, commitments, and pursue that which you aspire to become, the best and most fulfilling accomplishments and experiences may come, not because you sought them out, but because on the way to attaining success, you were paying attention, you were in the moment, you were open to new explorations and saying yes to those opportunities. At that ceremony, everyone in the room said the same thing. John stretched me. He made me better. He gave me greater capacity. He told me I had it within me. You know? And he called me his kindred spirit. Apparently, he said that to everybody. But I'll just close by asking you and reminding you the greatest and the full impact of your life will never be known by you or even those who know you, because the ripple effects of who you are, of how you live, of how you take care of yourself and of others will go further than you could ever imagine today. So do you have a list? And are your goals high enough? What are you going to do next? Go off balance on purpose. God bless you guys.